Welcome to Bridge the Atlantic. We are your hosts, music web designer Ross Barber.
And I'm singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. Oh my god. I'm those things, and my name is Marcin Novelli. Let's keep going.
So this week we're joined by serial songwriter Shelly Peiken. Shelly is a multi-platinum, Grammy-nominated writer behind massive hits such as Bitch by Meredith Brooks, which Marcio and I were singing before we called you. What a Girl Wants and Come On Over by Christina Aguilera.
God, these are like songs that are permanently in my brain. Sorry, I've got to shut up. I'm totally ruining the introduction. Go ahead.
Elevator by David Archuletta and Rotten to the Core from Disney's Descendants. In addition to her songwriting work, she's well known as a mentor, panelist, consultant, and guest speaker in the music industry, and her first book, Confessions of a Serial Songwriter, is due for release this year. We're really excited to welcome her to the show and see what we can learn from her experience in the industry. So, hey, Shelly.
Hey,
Hi.
Nice to be here.
How are you?
Triangle, I'm so good. It's a beautiful day in LA.
Tell us 3 things about yourself that everyone should know.
Well, I have been doing the songwriting thing for at least 30 years professionally, which I don't like to say that a lot because people think, my God, she's a grandmother.
So you were in the womb when you were writing songs?
Yes, that's true. That's true. I am a proud mother as well, so I sort of have a split life, and I am sending my only child to college in about 10 days.
Oh.
I'm going with her at first, but that's sort of rocking my world, giving me a whole lot more to think about and write about. And, well, the third thing that you guys know is that I've been working for 2 years on this book called Confessions of a Serial Songwriter. And I was doing it on my own behalf since I sat down to start writing it, and was going to self-publish the week after I put my daughter in college because I thought I'm going to need something to not replace her, of course, but to distract me and to cheer me up when I miss her. And after doing this on my own for all this time, I was offered a book deal a couple of weeks ago. So I weighed the options, and it looks like it's going to have an established publisher put it out instead of Little Old Me, which would have been fine. And there are some wonderful books that are self-published, but I'm going to have help after all, which sort of makes me feel good because doing it yourself is a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to actually not put it out this year. It'll soft launch in January, most likely at the NAMM show here in LA, and then be in stores a month or two later. So you didn't know that.
Oh, I'm excited. I really want to read this. I really want to read it.
And my agent says, don't talk about it. Don't say anything because it jinxes it up. So I say to her, I'm not giving details, but I'm past the point in my life where you jinx these things. If they fall through, they fall through. And aspiring songwriters should know that things do fall through, and you have to brush yourself off and get up and just keep going. And if it falls through, I will, but it won't.
Oh, exactly.
Well, I already know. I know a lot of people that are excited for your book. I mean, I'm excited, Marcio's excited, and one of our listeners is very excited. She's a big fan of yours. And I think actually it's probably a good point just to ask her question that she asked me to ask you, because you mentioned about, things falling through and, things don't always go well.
This isn't only a listener, but a former guest.
Yeah, she was a guest on our show too. Tam Hansen. She wants to know, what were some difficult challenges you had to overcome earlier in your career? And also, at the same time, what were the early successes?
Well, the challenges are always about getting in the door, even if you have a song that's perfect for the record. There are so many songs out there that are perfect for the record. Sometimes the perfect is not just the opinion of the person who wrote it. Sometimes the song really is perfect, and there's just so many other things that need to be considered, especially today, but even so in the past. And I think of things like, do you have name recognition? And I say to everybody that feels like they can't get in the door because nobody knows their name, at some point, everybody who has a recognizable name didn't. And they got in the door somehow. And now their name is known. So you can't let these things deter you or bring you down. If they bring you down, let it bring you down for a day, feel it, get it over with, and then forget about it. Because if you let things like that affect you long term, it is going to affect you. Whereas you need to just let it go. So hopefully at some point, that one song or that particular song that should be on the album stumbles in and gets there. And you could not have imagined how or why or the detail. It just does. There's a lot of cliched believing in yourself and going forth with blinders on. I think that's the main thing that I was challenged with coming up in the business. And I have to say, I still am. I think more so lately than ever, there are more songwriters than ever before, or people that can call themselves songwriters, because you don't only have to be able to play an instrument or write a lyric these days. If you can work Pro Tools or be a producer, you can call yourself a songwriter. And because of technology, there's so many more of us and so much more competition. A lot more of us in a room when one song is written, so less of a piece of the pie. And a lot more camps now writing for perhaps one artist making a record. Maybe that one artist has this group of people that she or he likes to work with, as opposed to an A&R person looking through 1,000 songs for the perfect songs. It comes down to maybe songs that are from that camp. So in order to infiltrate the camp or be invited to it, there's a whole other level of challenge.
How does it differ writing on your own for someone and writing in a group of songwriters for someone? And what do you like? What do you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
Which
I like both. I can't say I like too many people in a room, because I think it dilutes any idea that I might have come with.
Absolutely.
But there's more of a party atmosphere. There's more of let's everybody throw out an ingredient and see what the cake tastes like. And the cake might not always taste like the cake you envisioned when you walked in the room, because there's just so many influences. But it can be fun. And if you enjoy the people's company and there's humor, it can be a lot of fun. I do also enjoy just sitting down at a piano when there's nobody home and there's no phone within 20 feet of me, and there's no gardener, and there's nobody at the door ringing the bell, no FedEx coming. I mean, if I could arrange that, it's a miracle. But the privacy, I think privacy just really allows you to be 100% pure with whatever it is you're feeling and you want to say, without even one collaborator next to you saying, I have an opinion about that. And their opinion might be valid and correct. I mean, as if there is a correct when you're writing a piece of art.
It's subjective, exactly.
But it's nice sometimes just to have no opinion affecting what you're putting forth at a given session with yourself. And there's an indulgence there that I really enjoy, as well as the party, as the committee.
I love that.
As a committee room.
I think when it's coming out, I think it's important. It's very vulnerable. You're very vulnerable at that moment. Having someone jump in that moment is heartbreaking. I think when you have some distance from it, maybe that's okay. Okay, how can we improve the song?
Yeah. There are people I've worked with for years and years that I feel maybe more comfortable in a room with than a blind date,
right?
That I go to now. And these are people that we could just look at each other and say, "Are you kidding?" That line sucks. Are you kidding? And who knows, at the end of the day, we might decide that we were wrong. Sometimes the most ridiculous line turns into something so interesting. I mean, the worst thing to do is stay safe and stay beige, as we call it.
What sort of highlights would you say you've experienced so far? You know, Tam kind of asked about your early successes, but now the whole, like you said, 30 years of songwriting, particularly on the massive hits level. What's been some of your highlights?
On the massive hits level, the highlight would be a number one song on the Hot 100, which at the time, let's say that Christina Aguilera's What a Girl Wants was number one on the Hot 100. That was the holy grail. Mm-hmm. It was the chart that mattered at the time. There were a few. There was a hip hop chart and there was a country chart. But for pop mainstream song, the iTunes was just coming to be, I don't know if it was out yet. So there was just this one chart that we aspired to, for me. Now I feel like I can have a number one, and that's great, but there are so many charts. At the time, the Hot 100 really mattered. I mean, they all matter, but you know what I mean? It was the one. It was the holy grail that we all aspire to. I don't know if it's... I don't know. I'd be pretty happy with any number one I would get now as well. But then it was just like an out-of-body experience. And I remember when that happened, my daughter was 2 years old, and I was reading her a passage from Winnie the Pooh, and the phone rang, and I didn't want to answer it because I was with her, but I saw it was a record label, and I couldn't help myself. I answered the phone. I think What a Girl Wants was, I think, number 11 at the time. And my friend from the label said, it's going to go number one next week. And there was my daughter waiting for me to read what Pooh is going to do. And here was my friend on the phone saying it was going to go number one, and I didn't know what to do. So I said, thank you very much. And hopefully it's not a mistake. And I put the phone down and I finished the story. And I tucked her in, and I sat in that chair like I did every night, and I waited till I was sure she was sleeping. I write about this in my book, too. You're
going to make me teary-eyed. And I have two little boys myself. I'm at that stage right now, It's
a balance. And when I was sure she was sleeping, I tiptoed out of the room, I shut the door, and I went nuts. I was just like jumping up and down the hallway. I just couldn't believe it. But the being a parent and being a songwriter, you really have to. My child was my priority since the day she was born, and it didn't mean that the music didn't matter. It did. It mattered a lot, but my perspective definitely changed, and how important things were compared to how important her happiness was or her health was. It never went back to the other way around. The songs went to the back. The whole music career took the back seat since that day, and it's never come up front again. And how old are your kids?
Mine are, he's going to be 3, Skylar's going to be 3, and River is just over 4 months old. Mm-hmm. So I'm in that stage. You're in that black hole of,
I don't know, my husband's a composer, and both of us were working at the time. And when they're really young, it's just, you can't explain to them, well, can this wait? I have to go to a session. It's just like if they're sick, the session is canceled and rescheduled. Yeah. And that was, that's a challenge. Because I saw a lot of my friends who weren't having children really excel a lot faster at that point and write a lot more and take sessions and stay there until 3 a.m., 4 a.m. all night long. And it was just a choice I made. I wasn't going to do that. If I was going to write with somebody, they'd have to be able to start at 10 a.m. and I'd have to be done by 4, especially in preschool. I wanted to be out of there. I wanted to be home for dinner. And if they couldn't write with me early enough, I'd have to pass and say, see you in 18 years. Time. The passage of time.
Yeah.
I feel a new song coming on here.
I think that
Many
they'll be
songs
Are we going to co-write a song?
We just did, right
while
now.
we do this interview?
Right now.
30-30.
Amazing.
Done.
Yeah. The passage of time, there's just like, zillions of songs you could write about that.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So I'd like to ask, what advice would you give to someone who maybe hasn't written for anyone before? What kind of steps would they take? Maybe partly for the approach that they would take if it's maybe different from writing for themselves, and also in getting it in front of the people that can help them get it to the right artist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're writing for somebody else and you're with somebody else and they have a record deal that you're writing for, your feelings don't matter as much. When I'm with somebody who's making a record, I want to say to them, what's on your mind? This is your record. Otherwise, you're doing them a disservice. And you're doing yourself a disservice, because if you're just going to put your ideas out there and they don't see things the same way, they're not going to put that song on the record. So you want to service them. And you want to do it authentically, because hopefully they will say something or bring something up that you can relate to, that you felt yourself before. And if you say, wow, I know what you're talking about, then write about that, because then you have that in common. And then you have to hope that they could present it to their label or their manager and say, I really care about this song. This is me speaking. When Meredith and I wrote Bitch, we were very lucky because we both were 50-50 feeling what that song was saying. To this day, I have to feel like she was the vehicle, but I felt like that song was just as much about me as it was about her. So in situations where you can both have the feeling that you're writing about, that is ideal. Sometimes you might not have the same thing on your mind. You still have to try to help that person write the song. Now, sometimes you're in a room with another serial songwriter and you're just writing a song to pitch to somebody. That's a different story. But I think you still have to find a common ground. Because if you don't have common ground with the person you're writing with, then one of you is not really being authentic. And unless you're an incredible craftsperson, which a lot of songwriters are, the listener is going to know that that song was written from a place that was conjured. The song was conjured rather than written from a place where the writer was really feeling something or knowing what they were talking about. So, to be honest, I think that there are a lot of really talented songwriters who can craft a song from a place of not actually having experienced the feeling before. I admire them, and I wish I had a little bit more of that, because my boundaries would be way wider. But I know that my most successful songs, and perhaps there's only as many as I could count on two hands, were written from a place where I was just really telling the truth, that I wasn't imagining how I would feel if I felt that way. That's where I write best. That's from where I write best.
You know, you're saying that you kind of wish that you had more of that craft that you could just write at any point, but I hope that you don't, because I'm sorry, but I respect the way you write. You know, you're someone who changes you change my idea of artists who have songwriters that aren't themselves. You know what I mean? Being a singer-songwriter, I've always thought, no, you got to write your own songs. But, not every great singer writes songs, and not every great songwriter is a singer. You know what I mean? Or wants to be. You know what I mean? So bringing that together is a beautiful thing to me, if it comes from an authentic place, like you're saying. I think in my mind it was always, songwriter separate, singer separate. It's all, like you said, conjured. It's all fake. And that's not true. Clearly that's not true.
No. And, personally, the music I buy, I listen to everything, because if you're going to be a songwriter, you need to be aware of everything on the radio. You need to be aware of the stuff you love and the stuff that you don't love. If you're going to design clothes, you need to see what's out there and pay attention to what's out there, and be cognizant of the stuff you love and the stuff you don't, the stuff you'd wear and the stuff you'd give away. But as a consumer, I prefer buying music that feels authentic to me, that feels like it was written by a band or a recording artist who participated in the writing, and not only participated, but really planted the seed and invited people to the party. That said, there's a lot of people buying music out there who don't need to feel that. They want to feel up from the music they buy. They want to be able to go out on the night, on the town with the girls, or to a club and feel uplifted and feel like they're celebrating and feel like the song makes them happy, or they don't need to feel like it was a song written because somebody needed to express their innermost confessions. And so, as a songwriter, I care about those songs as well, because very often I'm in a position where I'm going to need to write them. And although I feel like most of my best material comes from that heartful, authentic place, I have written those up-fun songs. If I'm in the room with someone that's good enough, I could throw ingredients out there and participate and have a big song with that too.
Sure.
So we just have to be, we have to be aware of everything that's out there, because we might be put in a situation, you will be put in a situation where you're going to have to challenge what you're capable of.
Do you thrive on that?
Yes. However, I wrote my book because I felt like, after being in the business as long as I had, I was waking up every day feeling like I wanted to go forward writing songs with different rules for myself. I don't know if I would go to a session now where I knew that there were 5 other people involved and write a song about going to a club. There's songs on the radio that were written by a committee about going out and celebrating that I love. Loads of Bruno Mars songs, I love them. But I am not the best person to write that song. Sure. So for many years when I was younger, I went and I did my best. Many times I failed. Frequently I succeeded. And it was all part of the road. To a new songwriter, I would suggest that they do the same. An aspiring songwriter, a younger songwriter, you pay your dues. I feel like at this point in my career, a couple of years ago, I was waking up and going to sessions that I wasn't necessarily excited about going to anymore. And I felt like I had paid my dues. Not that I'm not going to fail again, I will, and I do every day. But I feel after my book is out and I go, and then I have more time to go back into writing sessions, I might be choosier where I go. And I might choose to say no thank you to certain sessions that I feel I'm not the best person for or won't enjoy as much. But I need to make clear that somebody starting out, I would say, go to everything. Right, explore, experiment, find out about yourself, find out what you enjoy, find out where you're giving your best, in what situations you're giving your best to the people that invite you. Sometimes you might be invited to a session and the people don't even know you might not be the best person to go. But we figure that out along the way. And then I think we earn the right to readjust our process. Does that make sense?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it goes for a lot of things in the music industry. There's a lot of trial and error. I think you need to try stuff out, see what you like, see what you're good at. You might find that you're great at something that you didn't know you were going to be good at. So yeah, you just need to try everything. And I think, especially in the early stages, when you're still getting to know who you are, both professionally and as a person, those are the kind of things that can help you grow and guide the path that you maybe didn't even know was there. Agree. Because for me, I studied popular music performance at university because I thought I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I learned in my last year, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this at all. And I realized I wanted to go more behind the scenes. And now I design websites for musicians. That's what I do every day. But, I learned that. I'm glad I learned it then and didn't learn it, 10 years later when I was thinking that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. So yeah, I think I am lucky that I learned it at that point. But I think I definitely needed to try it first. And because I tried it, I realized it wasn't for me. I think more people should do the same. Try stuff, see what works, see what doesn't.
And listen to that voice in your head. We're not going to talk about that. But yeah, listen to that voice in your head that's saying, I'm unhappy. Why am I unhappy? Is it the session I'm going to? Is it the way I'm being treated? Am I writing too much for the genre and I'm not seeing the fruits of my labor? And then in other situations, I do and I feel welcome and the people love me and they enjoy me and I enjoy them. You have to listen to those conversations.
Just like you said, your child's happiness was more important than writing songs. Your happiness is just as important.
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes I think when you have kids, you're so occupied that you're not getting a chance to collect those thoughts because they have an ear infection and all you can think about is that. So
always an ear infection. Or some
especially with two kids.
Always something. Are you ready for 20 questions?
Yes. I don't know what they are, so
it's okay.
Let me take a drink of water.
Ross, do you want to start this time?
I will.
All right.
All right.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Meat or veggies? I think that's both.
It really depends on the day. Can I combine them?
Sure.
I would never have one without the other.
Okay.
It's a protein. It's got to be balanced.
There we go.
I'm sorry, I cheated. I can't choose.
CD or vinyl?
Vinyl in my heart, CD in my brain.
That's a good answer.
We'll take that.
Twitter or Facebook?
Facebook.
Mac or PC?
What's this?
What do you have?
Mac.
Use Mac.
Yeah.
Los Angeles or New York?
Can't. Apples, oranges, I love them both. I'm from New York. I live in LA.
So diplomatic. I love it.
I'm going to bungee back and forth.
I think you're really going to struggle with these later questions. I'm sorry.
I like that you're letting me stray.
Breaking Bad or Orange is the New Black?
Orange.
Britney Spears?
They play Bitch in Orange. I love Orange.
When did they play that?
Yes, they did. All the prisoners were singing.
Which was this the first season or second or third?
I think it was the second season.
Okay, so it's like last year in my mind. So
I kind of
kidding. That's awesome. It's like they're okay in my books.
That was big.
Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera?
Christina Aguilera.
I'm with you there.
But I love Britney.
Indie or major?
Indie.
Canada or Scotland?
Oh, that's not fair.
That's
just, I'm not going to answer that. I'm sorry. I've been to Canada. I haven't been to Scotland, so...
Everybody says that.
Yeah, everyone says that. So, ... And then it's like, and I think we just have to come to our own conclusion as to what that means.
Yeah,
so.
that either means that they're picking Canada or they're picking...
You asked that question.
It gets worse. I'm very sorry.
Why don't you just go me or him? It's not fair.
Wait till the last question. Okay.
You got a while to think about that one. Adele or Ed Sheeran?
Adele.
Breaking Bad or Homeland?
Homeland.
I've still not seen the last season. I need to get on there.
Homeland.
They redeemed themselves in the latest season.
Lennon or McCartney?
Oh, I posted this last week. Did you see my post on that?
I think this is why I'm asking the question.
I asked the same thing. I just, these are impossible. Impossible. It's if I hear, maybe I'm amazed it's Paul. If I hear Across the Universe, it's done.
You know what?
I just can't.
If I had to pick, it's hard to pick, but I don't want to say it. Lennon is just amazing, but one of my favorite songs of all time was written by Paul McCartney, Yesterday. Carole King or Joni Mitchell?
Carole King.
Michael Jackson or Michael Bolton?
Jackson.
Twerk or work?
Work.
Ricky Gervais or Ricky Martin?
Gervais.
Good answer. Good answer.
I was 50-50.
Really? Intriguing. Whale or kale?
Kale.
You like kale?
I love kale.
I love kale. You definitely are from LA then.
The things I know, the answers I know.
Bette Midler or The Riddler?
Bette Midler.
And finally, I'm sorry, Ross or Marcio?
You guys are sick. That's like torture. It's like Lennon and McCartney.
I'll take that. I feel like that's a compliment in some...
That's the Paul and that's the John, though.
What's that?
You're the Paul and Ross is the John.
Really? Yeah?
Yeah.
The attractive one?
They're both hot.
Success.
So, I was going to ask you if you have any music recommendations, but I think you already did. The Beatles. And I think that
always. But currently, I'm happy to... Currently, I'm loving Family of the Year. Love their last album. Love their new single. Make You Mine. Love. Really good. Brandy Clark, I love. You know Brandy Clark?
That's a country artist?
Yes.
Yeah, I know that.
And I'm not even a country girl, but her album's amazing. And Tori Kelly, I really like too.
Cool.
She's kind of really rising up lately. I've noticed a lot.
And you can tell that she's very involved in writing those songs and not just singing them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love anybody who will just sing a song and not participate in the writing of them from a songwriter point of view. But I'm talking about who I like listening to. I like to feel like they that it's about them, that it came from them.
We want everyone to go to your website, which
yes,
is Shelly.
Please. ShellyPeiken.com. Mm-hmm. ShellyPeiken.com. And there's a lot of resourceful information. Shelly at Shelly_Peiken on Twitter. And my Facebook page is Serial Songwriter. You could
we
find
did our
me.
research.
Yeah, we did.
And I'd love if everybody that went there would like the page and join in on the conversations. You don't have to be a songwriter. You could just be a music lover or just simply have an opinion.
Yeah, you're really great because you it's not just all about you on there. You really seem to want to start a conversation, which is what social media is about.
Well, I feel like, and I say this often, and it is the truth, I feel that I learned, and I have learned as much from my Facebook community as they have said they have learned from me. I've learned so much about streaming and how we get paid and how we don't get paid, and I have become an activist because of all the conversation on my page, and I feel like I wake up with a lot more purpose because of all the engagement. And I'm going to continue to do it. I enjoy it. I'm hooked.
Well, we were just about to wrap up, but I got to ask you one last thing because I guess it's a very different world when it comes to royalties now than it was 20 years ago.
Yes.
When Bitch came out, right? I mean,
yes.
How is it different from your actual perspective, and how has it actually affected you personally?
It's affected and going to affect every songwriter. And in a nutshell, and this is very complicated, let me just start off by saying this. If you go to my website and go to the Getting Paid page, there are about 10 links there that will discuss all of this. And it gets very complicated, but every songwriter should know about it because it's important, and music has value, and we want to get paid fair market value, and we're not. But if you go look at those links, you'll learn a lot. And if you go to the Getting Paid page, there's a video on there that's about the Songwriters Equity Act.
This has been so great. Thank you so much
Thanks
for
sharing having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been our pleasure. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us. It's very, very awesome.
Thank you.
I'm sorry,
awesome
we tried to...
I keep saying the word awesome, like overusing
Awesome's an awesome word.
It's overused, we appreciate it. And, as a songwriter myself, and, I really hear a lot of the things you say, and I take it to heart,
Thank
I
you.
really do.
Thank you.
For those people watching and listening, if you want to hear my music, go to marcianovelli.com.
And if you want to find out what I'm up to, you can find out more at electrickiwi.co.uk.
Beautiful. Please come on again soon, maybe in the next year or something.
When the book drops, I would love to, because then people will have read it and we can discuss what's in it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That sounds like a good plan.
I'd love to. It's been a pleasure.
I'm so excited I actually did the arm. I'm like, that's awesome. I did that instantly.
Now he's doing the arm with the awesome.
Wow. All right, talk soon, Shelly.
Ciao.
Thanks for watching Bridge the Atlantic. If you like what you saw, make sure to like, favorite, and most importantly, subscribe so that you don't miss each week's episode.
Click on the videos above us if you'd like to see more, and please feel free to leave us a comment letting us know what you think of the show.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and subscribe to us on iTunes so that you can listen to us on the go. Thanks again for being awesome, and we'll see you on next week's episode.